We got the brakes done. They're hooked up on the front while we're waiting on parts for the rear. And now I think we're gonna tackle the carbs. Again, I did have one slide stuck on here. I don't remember which one. Free, not free, this one. Free, free. So these are all good except for this one slide that we're gonna have to free before we put this. Actually, that's gonna mess me up because I forgot about that until just now. I was gonna start cleaning up the rest of this stuff and slapping these together. All of my inner parts are in the bottom of this bin. It's overwhelming. It's not that bad. Pilot jet, main jet, atomizer tubes, little plugs, floats. It's all needles. A carb is a carb is a carb is a carb. Yes, there's variances. Yes, there's differences. I didn't know what that little turner knob did on the tractor, but I messed with it until I got it what sounded happy and ran with that. So hopefully somebody in the comments can enlighten me on that one. And if I need to adjust or tweak anything there, I will. So this is all good. I didn't bend any of the tangs on the floats. I didn't change anything there. So this should all go right back in the way it was. A couple of the fuel passages were completely clogged, but now this has been, all the inner bits have been soaking, minus the float bowls. I did not clean out the actual bottom of the float bowls yet, but that's insignificant. So I need to, one, get this slide freed up. That is first and foremost on the list of priorities. We got to get that slide moving again, so I'm going to soak this one more time and then try and pry on it gently and see if I can get it to shimmy or wiggle.
Well, I'm poor, I'm broke, I'm living free. I ain't got a nickel or dime. I'm just living life in Tennessee, and I'm trying to catch a steamboat on time. Can't you see that Cherokee River flowing on cold and wide? Can't you see me running forever, trying to catch a steamboat on time? And I'm just a lonesome hobo, and there's nothing in the world for me. So I best just keep on moving, 'cause that's the way that life's gotta be. Well, I'm poor, I'm broke, I'm living free. I ain't got a nickel or dime. I'm just living life in Tennessee, and I'm trying to catch a steamboat on time. Well, I beg for a meal where I can get it, picking off the chicken bones and scraps, and they throw it all out the back door, and they tell me that I'm never welcome back, and I'm covered in rags and patches, and the rich folk look down on me, but I don't take no bother, 'cause they're the ones who just can't see. Well, I'm poor, I'm broke, I'm living free. I ain't got a nickel or dime. I'm just living life in Tennessee, and I'm trying to catch a steamboat on time. Well, I'm poor, I'm broke, I'm living free. I ain't got a nickel or dime. I'm just living life in Tennessee, and I'm trying to catch a steamboat on time. Well, I'm poor, I'm broke, I'm living free. I ain't got a nickel or dime. I'm just living life in Tennessee, and I'm trying to catch a steamboat on time.
I went through, I cleaned everything else up on this bank of carbs. A lot of guys get bikes for the first time, older ones, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna get a carb rebuild kit. I'm gonna go through and do everything. These don't look like the nicest, newest parts ever to go back inside of a carburetor. However, I will tell you a trick, save some money. Just because these are kind of crusty and not as good as I would like them to be. Yeah, I would love to buy a new carb kit. But when you get into the 4-cylinder stuff, it's not a single carb rebuild, right? Like, cool, you spend 40 bucks on a carb rebuild if you do it that way, or get the Chinese stuff on Amazon like I do now sometimes, and know that I'm probably gonna have to mess around with the jetting a little bit. I also have actual, you know, name brand jets that are scaled to size, but I also have my own jet drills, and if I put something in that's labeled a 180 Harley main, I'll drill it out myself if I need to. That part doesn't bother me. On these, I wanna say it's like 30 or 40 bucks a piece if you go to a reputable source, not Amazon. I have not looked at Chinese parts or Amazon parts for a carb rebuild for any of the, what are these, Keens? Yeah. I was gonna say I had Mikuni 2s on the Yamaha triple, and if my eye looks super red right now, sorry. Got through pretty much every one of the passages without spraying brake carb clean in my eye until the second to last one. Not the last one, because that would just be icing on the cake, but these are all cleaned up. Do they look the prettiest? No. Could I spend some time and run these on a wire wheel and clean all this up and make it look really pretty? Yes, but I don't care enough, and I don't want to take that much time on this. Same thing with the bodies of the carbs. There's a little bit of surface rust residue and some oxidization in here. Could I hit this with a Scotch-Brite and clean all this up? Yeah. None of this is going to inhibit the runnability of this bike. The only thing I did not pull off on these carburetors is the idle jet passage, or the mixture screws rather, which I should do. There's 4 of them right there. There might have been a plug or something, but it's those center ones next to the vacuum cat right there. There. They turn free, they spin fine. But I got you guys set up here. I made little piles of all these different things. I lost one of these that fell out. I try and keep the rubbers in, especially if I'm doing a quick down and dirty rebuild, just because if they get hit with chemicals, sometimes they stretch, expand, contract, and they don't want to fit proper. So I will use that one that came loose. Oh, we got 2 kind of coming loose. Bowls, yeah, there's some surface rust in there. All the heavy bits are cleaned up. Okay, all the heavy bits are cleaned up, except for that little corner. But cleaned up enough where, like, even if that flakes off, it's not gonna clog up the jet passages. We're going for down and dirty runnability here, not picture perfect restoration. I'm not going to dry ice blast these, or, you know, glass bead works too, but usually whatever that weird semi-polish finish that's on here, if you blast this to bare aluminum, they're gonna get shot. Soda would be a good media for this. Walnut shells maybe, but essentially you're just putting a quick little polish on there. I've also taken the time to polish up bodies and clean these up and dismantle the whole racks. We are not doing that. This is a bike was running. It should go back to be running. So I will set this way, and we're gonna queue up a time lapse. I don't think I'm gonna go through and do every little, maybe we'll do one. How's that? We'll do one carb with all the parts and bits, and then time lapse the rest. I think that makes sense. Only other thing to keep in mind, this is the intake side. Intake goes on the bike this way. When you put your float bowls on, let's see if I can grab 2 examples here. Set these up the same way. I had them laid out this way for a reason. Here's our float bowl. The little triangle bit goes to the top. Notice, when we put this on the carb, float bowl there, drain plug, screw, goes off this way. You have 2 that do that. Same float bowl, triangle pointed to the top. This drain plug goes the other way. Do not mix and match those. This will 100% bolt right up, right there, and right there. If you ever had to drain a float bowl on this or this, on the dead middle of the carburetor, on a 4-cylinder, you can't do it. I'm stressing this because I've never done this in my entire life. I always check this and have never made this mistake before, and then ended up having to pull the carb and the airbox and all that other stuff off. to correct it. I've never done that. Never in my life. But yeah, pay attention to that. So I got these two here, and I'll even go as far as to do that right now. These two will go over here. Do not let me forget the gasket. I say that like you're gonna see this live. You're not. But we're gonna do this carb right here, kind of close up and then personal. Hopefully this is good enough visually for you guys. Let's see here. I got my pile of stuff. This is all brake cleaned up. I blew through every one of these passages on the plug caps, the bottoms, this. I think this is the one that got me in the eyeball. But, so the farthest to the right, here's where we're at. Needle and vacuum diaphragm come in through here. This is your atomizer that'll drop in. Do I have a 10 mil over here? We'll start with the easy ones. I think, nope, it's 3/8. Let me grab metric tools. 8 mil here. So I'm just putting a 3/8 drive adapter on here. Do not do this. This is, you are threading brass parts into aluminum. Use a 1/4 inch, use an open end wrench. Do not do this, because it's very easy to over leverage and break things off if you've never done this before. Now, atomizer goes in. A lot of people will pull the main jets and yank this out. This is your main. Make sure that these passages are clear. Okay, you can see through that. If you don't know, hold every single one of these jets, passages, atomizers up to the light. Make sure you're getting full light coming through them. Blow through them with brake fluid, compressed air, clean everything else out like I just did off camera, but take each one of these. When I pulled these apart, a couple of them were completely clogged. Where's my middle screwdriver? You will want a good set of Phillips screwdrivers, or not Phillips, flathead screwdrivers for these. And you want the right sized ones, which I don't have here. It needs to be skinny enough to go all the way into the grooves of this and run the full span of the jet. It's brass. It's very brittle. It's very easy to strip out, break, all of those other things. So main jet's pretty easy. Atomizer goes in around the needle. There's a bunch of passages on the outside here. Even on these, pull them out. Come on, focus. Can you see the holes? Pull them out. Take your can of carb clean, brake clean. Put it through the big side. If you put it, you can put it through this side too, but you want to cap the end and basically blast this full burst. And you should see an X pattern. There's 2 little holes on the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 holes on that side. So there's 5 there, 2 there. You want this to blow all the way through. If I spray this right now, all the way through, notice, goes all the way through the straw. But if you plug this, it'll force all of that pressure and the chemicals through these little tiny holes. Make sure you are getting full speed on that. All right, so we did atomizer, main jet. And we have our pilot. Same thing as that one, only you have one tiny little passage at the bottom that comes up, and we have 3 holes here, none on the sides here, 3 holes here. Make sure that those are free. And these ones are a little more difficult because you need a screwdriver wide enough to span the length of the jet. Like so. Turn this down a little bit. You don't have to go Hulk tight on these. They just got to be snug and dropped in. So, main jet, pilot jet. We're good there. Then the next little bit, which honestly I don't know what this is called. This might be an air bleed, internal air bleed. So it looks like a little plug, but there is a tiny hole in there that goes through. Again, hopefully you can see the shiny metal of the carb there. These ones run over this passage. It's got to be an air bleed, if I remember correctly. When I sprayed through that, it came out through the top of the vacuum by the diaphragm. These go in, these snug down as well. Just like that. Now it seems like we're done. We got a pilot, we got a main, we got an air bleed. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know all of the terminologies, I just know kind of what they do, but that goes there. It regulates the other jet that also has side holes in it. Then we have these little plastic things. These are definitely dry rotted by my standards. They're stiff, they're brittle, but this just drops in. This is just like a Harley CV. You have a little plug that goes over the idle anyway. It picks up fuel somewhere across that. I don't know exactly where. I'm not trying to explain all. Oh no, where's my needle? Sorry, I'm looking at my needles. If you're not buying a carb rebuild kit because they're too expensive, like I'm doing, check your needles, check your tips. There's some corrosion on the outside of this. I don't like this. If I had the option to just buy 4 needles and seats, I would do all 4 of these needles and seats. But we're gonna try it this way. It might bite me in the ass, but I think we might just be okay. So at this point, we're gonna drop the needle and seat in. So I went through, you can also polish these up a little bit, but you want that rubber tip on the end. As long as it's kind of soft, it should seal a little bit better. If this was a straight metal needle, these would have been replaced. They come with these little clips. Clip goes on over the float on the little tang there. That tang is also your adjustment. I'm turning the carb vertical here. Move you, drop the float. Move you guys up a little bit just for this one, because we're only doing 1 carb, and then you guys get to listen to some new tunes. So, drop the extra float. Let's put that back up here. We have a little clip onto the tang of the float, and then we're going to drop the float needle into the needle seat. Then, where are my little pins? This might actually be kind of a pain in the ass. These little pins come through. Sometimes they're one-sided, but they will slide. They should slide right back through here. So I started on the high side and pushed it back in. These were a nightmare to get out of here. They shouldn't be. Hot tip trick. Do I have a center punch up here? If you're trying to remove these for the first time and they've been in and crusty and sitting for a while, I do have one out, but that's all right. These guys, these automatic center punches, they're spring-loaded center punch, real small. You can jam this into the center of the pin, push it in, and once it goes all the way in or you get enough pressure on it, it'll click. And it's like a self-tapping, quick little hammer. That's what you want. So now we have the float back in, all the plugs in, jets are in. We are ready to put our float bowl on. And again, pay attention to where your drain is, even if you're never gonna open it. I don't usually open them once they're back on here. Make sure you got your O-ring in here. Form fit. I know it's covered in orange residue, but this is clean. There's no chunks in there. Set that on, and this one, unfortunately, well, fortunately and unfortunately, float bowl screws on these Jap carbs typically like to strip out if you're not using the proper screwdriver, which most people in the US do not have. It feels like a number 2, but it's not always an actual number 2. I don't know what the Japanese machining thread size is. So it's really easy to round out the stock screws. Somebody at some point replaced these with stainless ones, 3mm stainless Allen keys, which is awesome for me, but also kind of inconvenient right now when I'm explaining this and didn't grab the right tools that I needed. So let me grab some metric bit stuff here. Check the overstock drawers. One of these is fine for this. They don't have to go in that tight. So we'll work these down. It's not a bad idea to put a little bit of grease on that O-ring too, especially if it's been sitting or old like this one is. Come on. Get them all started before you do your final torque too. Kind of common sense practice, but you never know. if you tighten one down all the way, the other three might not line up. I usually try and get them all started first and then go from there. But that right there is how you put one of these carbs together. So we're gonna cue up the music, time lapse the rest of these. I'll go through all of them. I do like making a little assembly line of parts, so I know this is kind of chaotic looking, but I got my atomizers here, even with the corroded outsides, but all the passages are free and working. So these are all here. Main jets will go next to those. Our pilot jets are next to that, and then our floats. Let's slap the rest of these together, and then I don't know if we're gonna try and start this tonight, but I might do that tomorrow morning before the end of the video. Maybe we'll see if this will just start and run on its own without starting fluid and a giant fireball. Enjoy the tunes.
Babe, this thing ain't working out. I think we need a new direction. You're at home in this small town and I'm just feeling fenced in. No need to complicate it, it just goes that way sometimes. This is your place, I'll find mine. You take the house, I'll take the car. I'm leaving town, I'm going far away from here. I don't care what no one's got to say. You go your way, I'll take the highway. I've had this dream of leaving now. I think it's time that it came true. Find myself on the open road, well, what have I got to lose? Let the mountains, hills, and valleys grab my heart and take the lead. I hate losing you, but I gotta find me. So you take the house, I'll take the car. I'm leaving town, I'm going far away from here. I don't care what no one's got to say. I'll take the highway. You take the house, I'll take the car. I'm leaving town, I'm going far away from here. I don't care, nobody's gonna make me stay. You take the house, I'll take the car. I'm leaving town and I'm going far away from here. I don't care what no one's got to say. You go your way. You go your way. You go your way. I'll take the highway. I'll take the highway.
I watched this camera die right when I was threading in the last 3 bolts on this, but our carbs are put back together. Now it's gonna be test and tune once we get them back on the bike. I gotta soak down and lube up the intake boots like crazy. We're gonna slide the carbs in, get them hooked up to the intake. I'm not hooking up the velocity stack part and wrestling the airbox until we get these back in and see if they'll run in idle. The only thing I didn't clean on this is that idle passage. So we're gonna kind of have to monitor that a little bit. I'm hoping, since that's just a clean needle that goes in and out, it should be okay. But we'll hook this up and run it off the bottle because we can't hook up a fuel tank since I don't have a key to open it and fill the tank. But we'll get those dropped in. Brakes are kind of hooked up, so we're not riding it anywhere anytime soon, but I would like it to be able to crank over and fire up and idle on its own steam. This will need the CV boots on here, well, the intake boots to go into the airbox. It shouldn't matter as much for idle, but when you're riding, going down the road, especially on these constant velocity type carbs, that airbox does wonders in terms of mixing the air turbulation, is that a word? Can we make that be a word? But the air box that pulls air in is centered and ducted, and those velocity stacks are actually, they got a little degree to elbow in them to even out the pressure coming in from the air box to flow across these carburetors. It's goofy. On a Harley with one carb, you don't have to think about it nearly as much. CVs are probably my favorite carbs. S&Ss are good too, but I got 2 CVs, 2 S&Ss still up here. Well, 3 if I count the ironhead. Yeah, the weather warmed up just a tiny bit and the GoPro batteries just die instantly. But S&Ss work great. CVs work great. I love CVs on my long cruisers. I know you can outperform a CV with an S&S. Maybe. In principle, it makes sense logically in my head. But these are just kind of throw them on and go. Also, cold starts have been a little bit easier. Can't complain. The bagger starts great. Soft tails. They're different carbs, different animals, different beasts. Know what you're getting into. Run them both. Try them both. I encourage you. These don't look as old school as that, but same thing on this. This is still a CV carburetor. We got diaphragms up top. They're pretty much very similar to the, you know, Harley 40, 38, well, 40 mil. There's just 4 of them in sync. And you gotta make them all work together, which is where we will, when we put this back on, and we're gonna put them back on, fire it up, see if it'll fire and run, because I haven't been able to start this bike completely independent on its own yet. I'm hoping we alleviated that issue. I do have a bank manometer gauge, vacuum gauge basically, for all 4. I think that's still at the house in my Harley drawer, or motorcycle drawer, not Harley drawer. Why would I need those for a Harley drawer? But I'm 90% certain I still have that sitting at my house. So we'll bring that over, those vacuum ports that we capped off on those carbs, hook up all 4, and I can kind of gauge the vacuum, which will get adjusted based on the idle mixture screws. It's pretty much exactly like what we do on the Falcon when I'm tuning the carb with the vacuum gauge hooked up. Set the idle mixture screws in, set them to stock, back them out until it starts to fumble. Same thing, but I can have a gauge that literally shows me all of that visually instead of trying to hand pick each cylinder by ear. There's guys that do that. I've seen it firsthand. It's amazing. But yeah, carbs are done. Still got to do the master, the upper switch. We got a ton of wiring stuff to figure out, and rear brake, but we're waiting on parts. So that'll wrap this one up. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the tunes. I know we're kind of off kilter from the usual, but don't worry, there's plenty of projects and plenty of things still coming your way. It's just a little bit of a slow roll. And if I can get this done, ideally, perfect world scenario, this KZ is done running, driving, going up and down the road, everything working enough to start it up and sell it. I'll bring that out to the October Walneck swap. Gives me a month to get that bike done, ready to leave, and then we're pretty much hunkered down for winter and start focusing on winter builds like that ironhead. Hopefully we get Dottie's mini bike done and fired up before that. That should be fun. I've been helping. I did a little bit of welding here and there, but I haven't been doing videos on that because that's not my bike. That's Dottie's project, spearheading the whole thing, and hates having to call me in for help. But that's okay. That's okay. I don't mind giving a little bit of help, so I'm kind of walking on eggshells with that one. Not in a bad way. It's just a matter of I don't want to overstep. But I did sell her on disc brakes for the rear, just to make it a little bit more user-friendly. She'll be riding it after all. So that'll wrap this one up. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I know the videos are kind of like all over the place. Lots of random content within the same days of me filming things. That's just how life is right now. So I had 4 hours today. You get 3 or 4 videos out of that. But when I get back to these comments and respond to things, I feel behind. I apologize. I want to get back to being a little bit more like once a week as opposed to like once a month that I have been. I just don't have the time to sit down on a computer, and when I do, I'm scrambling to edit videos and get them back out to you guys. So bear with me. I will eventually, at some point, fingers crossed, get closer to caught up to real life. But until then, we'll catch you on the next one.